The Crow, a graphic novel released in 1989 by James O'Barr, stands as a towering pillar in the realm of dark and emotionally charged storytelling within the comic book industry. O'Barr's magnum opus, characterized by its gothic art style and profound narrative depth, delves into themes of love, loss, vengeance, and redemption. James O'Barr's journey to creating The Crow is deeply intertwined with his personal experiences and the tragedy that befell him. The comic was born out of O'Barr's attempt to cope with the grief and rage he felt after the death of his fiancée in a car accident caused by a drunk driver. Seeking an outlet for his pain, O'Barr poured these emotions into the creation of The Crow, channeling his sorrow and anger into a work that would resonate with countless readers who have grappled with similar feelings. While I appreciate the many attempts to recreate the success of the original story, I feel like they can never quite reach the same heights unless James O'Barr is somewhere in the mix. Today, we're talking about The Crow's original graphic novel, The Crow film from 1994, and The Crow Curare, what I would readily argue are the best to be offered by the franchise. Before we begin, remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoy it, and if you like me and what I'm doing here, go ahead and subscribe. So, to the newbies, welcome, and to the oldies, welcome back. Let's talk about The Crow. The story of The Crow centers on Eric Draven, a young man who, along with his fiancée Shelley, is brutally murdered by a gang of criminals. 1 year after their deaths, Eric is resurrected by a mystical crow, granting him supernatural abilities and guiding him on a mission of revenge against those who wronged him and Shelley. The narrative unfolds as a series of brutal and poetic confrontations, each laced with flashbacks to Eric and Shelley's life, providing a stark contrast to the violence that dominates the present. Everything Eric says is poetic and quotable, and while the gang members are at times one note, they function incredibly well within the scope of the story itself as a way to deliver on the absolute tragedy of the narrative. Eric Draven is a quintessential tragic hero whose love and pain propel him on a relentless quest for justice. His resurrection is not just a physical return, but a manifestation of the undying passion and unresolved anguish that binds him to Shelley. The Crow, both a symbol and a guide, represents the bridge between life and death, embodying the themes of resurrection and retribution that permeate the story. At its core, The Crow is a meditation on grief and the transformative power of love and loss. O'Barr masterfully weaves themes of resurrection and revenge into the narrative, creating a tapestry that is as haunting as it is poignant. Draven himself is well-rounded, too. There are frequent occasions where someone innocent is adjacent to the crossfire, be it a neighbor, a police officer, or a child, and he always treats them with a much kinder touch, one of, albeit enigmatic, kindness, whereas the criminals deserve harsher methods. The visual language of The Crow is steeped up to the neck in symbolism and metaphor, characterized by its black and white illustrations and gothic aesthetic. It mirrors the narrative's tone, with its dark, brooding atmosphere and intricate details capturing the raw emotion and intensity of the story. O'Barr's use of light and shadow, along with his ability to convey emotion through facial expressions and body language, enhances the storytelling, creating a visceral experience. The Crow has left an unforgettable mark on popular culture, influencing a wide range of media and inspiring adaptations across various platforms, the most well-regarded being the 1994 film. Alex Proyas's cinematic adaptation is true to the source material. It's a dark, atmospheric symphony of vengeance and absolution. The movie has become a cult classic for a reason, praised for its unique aesthetic, haunting soundtrack, and, as sorry as I am to mention it, the tragic death of its lead actor, Brandon Lee.
5 hours of surgery at this hospital could not save the life of 28-year-old Brandon Lee. He was fatally injured on the set of his latest movie, The Crow.
From the opening scene, The Crow immerses viewers in a bleak, rain-soaked urban landscape, a city that seems to exist in perpetual night. Proyas's direction, coupled with Dariusz Wolski's cinematography, crafts a gothic noir environment that is both captivating and unsettling. The film's visual style draws heavily from German expressionism and film noir, with sharp contrasts, deep shadows, and skewed angles. This visual language not only sets the tone, but also mirrors the protagonist's fractured psyche and the chaotic environment he navigates. The use of rain and darkness is not merely stylistic, but also symbolic. Rain, often associated with cleansing and renewal, contrasts with the film's violence and corruption. It creates a relentless atmosphere of melancholy and foreboding, reflecting the pain and grief that drive the narrative. The city itself is an extension of the film's character, its decaying structures and oppressive ambiance underscoring the sense of hopelessness that pervades the story. Integral to the film's impact is its soundtrack, a carefully curated collection of songs that amplify its emotional and thematic depth, featuring contributions from bands like The Cure, Nine Inch Nails, and Stone Temple Pilots. The soundtrack encapsulates the raw energy and angst of the 1990s alternative music scene. Each track is meticulously chosen to reflect the film's dark atmosphere. Brandon Lee's performance as Eric Draven was nothing short of iconic. Lee imbued the character with a profound sense of sorrow and rage, making Eric's tale both deeply personal and universally resonant.
Try hard. Try again. Victims, aren't we all?
Of course, it's well-trodden territory to say that Lee's tragic death during the film's production adds an eerie layer of importance to his portrayal. The accidental shooting on set casts a long, opaque shadow over the film. Lee's final performance is a haunting monument to his talent and potential forever enshrined in cinema history. During an interview with journalist Dyke Blair discussing his initial comic and the then recent film, James O'Barr had this to say about what inspired the tragic narrative. Quote, "Basically, when I was 18, my fiancé was killed by a drunk driver. I was really hurt, frustrated, and angry. I thought that by putting some of this anger and hate down on paper, that I could purge it from my system. But in fact, all I was doing was intensifying it. I was focusing on all this negativity. As I worked on it, things just got worse and worse, darker and darker, so it really didn't have the desired effect. I was probably more fucked up afterwards than before I started. It was only after becoming friends with Brandon, experiencing his death, and seeing the film perhaps 17 times now, that I finally reached what is currently called closure while visiting his grave in Seattle." I won't speak too much further about Lee's tragic passing, but I feel it's important to realize the impact this moment had to those around him and the world at large. Brandon Lee was 28 years old when the incident occurred. He had so much life left to live. His performance in this film is beautiful and obviously something he put his all into. It pains me to think of what could have been if things had played out differently. The Crow offers a rich, multi-layered experience that continues to captivate audiences. Its blend of striking visuals, emotional depth, and a haunting score creates a cinematic experience that lingers long after the credits roll. Plenty of further adaptations were made, most consistently being in the world of graphic lit, but none really stuck with me until The Crow Curare is a haunting and touching entry in the broader mythology of James O'Barr's series. Published in 2013 by IDW Publishing and written by James O'Barr himself with art by Antoine Daudet, this graphic novel delves deep into the themes of vengeance and the lingering impact of trauma, all through the lens of a supernatural narrative on brand with the original, without going as over the top as its lesser counterparts, which seemed more focused on creating a late 90s splatter show. While the original The Crow story focused on the tragic love and brutal revenge of Eric Draven, Curare shifts its gaze to a different kind of tragedy, a children's suffering and an old detective's unrelenting guilt. Joe Salk's life was forever changed by his failure to solve the brutal murder of Carrie, a young girl. The story begins with Salk, now a retired and broken man, haunted by his memories and the ghost of the unsolved case. His life is in shambles, marked by alcoholism and despair, which is a depressing juxtaposition to the once-driven detective he used to be. This contrast serves as a powerful narrative device, highlighting the devastating impact that one unresolved tragedy can have on an individual's life. While it may sound like a detective trope, which it is to an extent, it's also a very real series of events that can befall an officer in real life, and it's handled here with consideration and maturity. The arrival of Carrie's spirit, empowered by the mystical crow as Eric once was, reignites Salk's sense of purpose. Her ghost seeks retribution against those who wronged her, but she also seeks justice through Salk, who becomes her reluctant partner in this spectral quest. This relationship between the living and the dead is a central theme in the Crow series as a whole, but Curare brings a unique perspective by focusing on a child's innocence and a detective's redemption rather than a lover's revenge. O'Barr's writing in Curare is both gritty and poetic, capturing the despair and loss felt by the lead characters. His dialogue is sparse yet impactful, conveying deep emotions with few words. The narrative is interspersed with moments of introspection and flashbacks, revealing Salk's past and the events that led to Carrie's murder. These flashbacks are crucial as they not only provide context but also build a connection between the reader and the characters, making their pain and motivations more digestible. Overall, Curare is only 3 issues long, which functions quite effectively as a first, second, and third act. Antoine Daudet's artwork complements O'Barr's narrative beautifully. His style is distinct, blending realism with a touch of the surreal, which is fitting for a story that straddles the line between the real world and the supernatural. Daudet's use of shadows and muted colors enhances the somber mood of the story, while his depiction of Carrie's spirit adds an ethereal quality that underscores the otherworldly aspects of the tale. Her appearance is clearly evocative of Eric and the other revenants throughout the series of The Crow, while remaining unique and subtle. The visual storytelling is powerful, with each panel diligently crafted to convey the emotional weight of the narrative. One of the most compelling aspects of Curare is its exploration of guilt and vindication. Detective Salk's journey is not just about solving a crime or exacting revenge, it's about coming to terms with his own failures and finding a way to move forward. The story doesn't offer easy answers or a neatly wrapped conclusion, reflecting the complexities of real-life trauma and the often ambiguous nature of justice. Salk's redemption is bittersweet, as it is achieved through the painful process of confronting his own demons and the literal demons that haunt him. Curare also addresses the theme of innocence lost. Carrie's spirit is a tragic figure, a representation of purity destroyed by senseless violence. Her quest for moral satisfaction is driven not by malice, but by a desire for peace and closure. This balance of innocence and vengeance adds a layer of complexity to the story, challenging the reader to consider the moral implications of retribution and the true cost of justice. The Crow Curare isn't only a compelling comic book, but also a meditation on the human experience. It reminds us that the past is never truly behind us, and that the quest for justice, while fraught with pain and uncertainty, is a journey worth undertaking. While other attempts have had their time in the sun, it's clear to me that James O'Barr is the hand that holds the reins of The Crow. His unique approach to storytelling, an equal mix of violence, tragedy, and poetry, is impossible to replicate, and I thank him for being brave enough to share that part of himself with us. And that's where we'll leave our story for now. If you really enjoyed the video, hopefully enough to have left a like and subscribed, you'll be happy to know that we also have a video available here on A City Inside, a graphic novel that also focuses pretty steadily on author introspection. Thanks for sticking with us. I'll see you in the next one.